We had one key issue of importance that we were here to discuss. Unfortunately, we didn't get consensus.
Alberta's Deputy Premier says she came to the Western Premiers Conference hoping to get some support for Alberta's pipeline position, not to talk about pharmacare and cannabis.
While I love pharmacare, while I love work that we're doing to ensure that youth and our streets are safe with the legalization of cannabis, all of this costs money. And we have one way to ensure that we have that money and those resources, and that is for us to move forward with this project.
Hard to believe she truly expected she would get consensus with BC's John Horgan there.
Alberta made their case, as they always do, in a strong and passionate way, and I laid out my concerns about risk.
The issue wasn't only causing problems in Yellowknife. In Ottawa, the official opposition accused the government of walking back its commitment to make the pipeline reality.
Yesterday in the House of Commons, the Minister of Natural Resources changed the line. The Liberals had been saying that this project will be built. Jim Carr yesterday said the project should be built.
Justin Trudeau says the pipeline is going ahead with or without Kinder Morgan.
We continue to insist that this project is in the national interest and will get built, and that's what we're focused on.
Government sources say Finance Minister Bill Morneau is in daily and constant contact with Kinder Morgan and is conducting the negotiation personally. They say the government wants to make a deal before the company's May 31st deadline. But they also say the deadline is for Kinder Morgan, not for the pipeline itself, and the government is ready to work with other partners if Kinder Morgan bows out. And the government also hasn't ruled out building the pipeline itself if corporate partners can't be found. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now, we don't know if Justin Trudeau and the government will actually pour public money into the pipeline or just indemnify the company if needed, as they've promised. But it's worth pointing out that there's actually a long tradition for governments to support the energy sector financially. No investment will ever be risk-free, but if the past is any indication, it's proven pretty rewarding.
Important that the Canadian government have a little piece of the action on behalf of the Canadian people.
The Pierre Trudeau Liberals formed Petro-Canada in the 1970s. The oil company was formed as a crown corporation and meant to protect and develop a Canadian presence in the energy sector. But it later came with the National Energy Program to expand the company, but was seen in the West as an attempt to take over the industry. Its eventual sale in the 90s and 2000s is still the largest federal privatization to date, yielding Ottawa close to $6 billion.
The government will sell its stake in Petro-Canada, and as a portion of the proceeds from that sale will be used to invest in new environmental technologies.
On the Atlantic coast, Brian Mulroney's progressive Conservative government came to the rescue of Newfoundland's first offshore drilling project when Hibernia was nearing collapse. Mulroney offered $2.7 billion in grants and loan guarantees in the 90s to keep its development on track.
We believe they are risks worth taking. As for federal participation in Hibernia, we expect to realize a full return on our investment.
Indeed, that investment paid off handsomely. The loan has since been paid back in full. Ottawa still gets about $100 million every year in dividends. And if the feds were ever to sell its stake in the project, it'll get more than $1 billion by some estimates.
Tonight, I have some very important announcements as to the future of Alberta, and in particular, the Alberta tar sands, or the Alberta oil sands, as we prefer to call them.
When Syncrude oil sands project neared collapse in the mid-70s, the Peter Lougheed government of Alberta and Ottawa came to the rescue, taking up ownership stakes in the fledgling company. No one would argue with that decision today. The shares were eventually all sold off at a substantial profit, and Syncrude continues to pump out billions in royalties and taxes for Alberta.